Heidi ho, it's Monday. We are about to learn. As I drink my frappe. I don't even really like coffee, I just like ice cream. I mean, that's the closest thing to ice cream. We are going to learn if I can record while charging my phone. And if I can, well, that means I'm losing money making this video because I have to pay for gas. And I'm contributing to toxifying our environment. So I saw something that gave me the idea for this video, and I always have things in my head, but sometimes I'm not sure on how I should address them because I have a media brain and I'm always thinking about continuity when I upload, especially now that I'm uploading more seriously. I want topics to be related, transition normally from video to video. I can't help myself in that regard. It's just literally how my brain works, especially after I've really gotten into media. But with that being said, the thing that I saw was something I already knew about, and it was about the company Johnson & Johnson. Now, if you don't know, Johnson & Johnson got hit with a major lawsuit years ago as there was reports of their product, their talcum powder, being linked to cancer, ovarian cancer, because they had asbestos in it. And unfortunately, I had a family member, my great aunt Jackie, who was a major user of Johnson & Johnson products, and she died 2011 of ovarian cancer. Now that report came out some years later, and the lawsuit is still ongoing as of right now. But when that happened, I kind of wondered, if there was a link to that, because she was an avid user of it back when I lived down in Burlington at my great-grandparents' house. When she moved in to help take care of my great-grandmother who had dementia, you would see all the Johnson & Johnson products in her room, and my mom also was able to back up that she did use that a lot. And so it got me thinking, right, to speak on this, because my great aunt, she was the matriarch of our family after my great-grandfather had passed. After he passed, she pretty much took up the mantle and kept everybody together. Now, me, I'm the black wolf of my family. If my mom's the black sheep, I'm the black wolf. I don't like anybody, just about. And I was always very vocal about that. And that's because I seen people for who they were. I didn't grow up around my mom's side of the family like my mom did. So I never had the nostalgic rose-colored glasses that she had for them. There was no affinity. It was me always having an outsider's perspective of who these people were. Now, to put some perspective in, we moved from Philadelphia to Jersey when I was 3 going on 4, and I remember that to this day. I remember it like it was yesterday. And we moved to my great-grandparents' house. My great-grandfather and my great-grandmother, who he had married, so she's not related by blood. And with that, my great-grandfather was like the center of the family. He had multiple kids, as everybody from that era did. So I had my great aunt, I had my great uncle who's still alive, and not my other great aunt, who would be my grandma, I meant to say, who would be my mom's mom, because she had already passed by the time I was born. She had died of an aneurysm when my mom was 17, which is, as I get older, I think is part of why me and her have such a toxic relationship, because she experienced some traumas and didn't really know how to deal with them. But that's a topic for a different day. But after my great-grandfather passed, and I remember the day that he passed because he went on a drinking binge. He was an alcoholic. He wasn't a bad guy. Like, I have fond memories of him. But when he started drinking, he would then become a problematic person. Cool when he wasn't drunk, problematic when he was drunk. He would chase me around the house, threaten to beat me and all this other stuff. I think I've talked about this before, but not in full detail. So I'd always get chased around and trying to whoop my butt. That boy's bad, I'm gonna get him. And then they would ask what he do, and he's like, what didn't he do? And all that other type of stuff. And I would then hide with my great grandma, and she'd be like, leave that boy alone. Crazy, chaotic, right? But I remember the day he died because my great aunt had taken his keys from him, and he couldn't drink. He couldn't go down to the local bar to get some his alcohol, so he went weeks without it, and then got his keys back and immediately went, grabbed his alcohol, and just started throwing things back. And this is actually how a lot of people who are addicts to drugs, whether it's alcohol, crack, heroin, whatever, this is actually how a lot of people actually pass, because they go some time without having their vice, and then when they go back to having it, their body has kind of like acclimated to not having it. It doesn't have that, the body's not used to it anymore. So when he went on a drinking binge, his body started shutting down. I remember his last moments when he was delirious, talking about angels, yada yada yada. And then the next day I wake up and I hear a bunch of crying, and my 8-year-old brain was like, Grandpa's dead. Just like that. Like, it was some weird intuition where just based on the energy I knew, and it didn't really bother me. I remember seeing him laying in the bed, cold to the touch, after paramedics and everybody had like checked on him and knew that he had passed. And it's just like, wow, I guess this is what death is like. But either ways, my great aunt had took up his responsibility afterwards, because my great grandmom was suffering from dementia. And I guess she already had dementia before I was born, but it was slight. But as the years went, her dementia went from like just simple to off the cliff downhill. A lot of people don't know what dementia is like, and they think it's like Alzheimer's and everything. The person just forgets, their name and stuff. But no, it gets worse. Eventually, they forget how to move, how to go to the bathroom. Like, we had to get a hospital bed, and my great grandma would like poop in her diapers, and they had to wipe her. It was a lot for a young mind, because I would have to help with them because I was the only male in the house. A lot of things I experienced. But let me actually go back a little bit. Before my great grandfather passed, Jesus, can't even talk again, we would have family events at his house. So family members would come over from Philadelphia, basically his son and their children, and we would go, would have dinner, Thanksgiving dinner, summer dinner, these things. And they would always like talk about like family and stuff. It was not preachy, but it's, we do family things together, right? It was those type of spiels. And with me, they never really connected, simply because my great grandfather passed when I was 8. So we would have those, dinners going 5, 6, 7. By the time I'm 8, he's passed. And with his passing, people started to split up into like their different groups. So by the time my great aunt took over, my great aunt Jackie, and started basically kind of lived over in the house, because she would help take care of my grandmother, as well as have to deal with me and my mom and stuff, right? I got to see how people truly didn't get along. When I was young, I started saying this: I have family and I have relatives. And I already told of the experience that I had where my cousins on my dad's side, basically, from my perspective, tried to drown me with a water hose, and were also the reason why I got hit by a car. Both of them were the summer when I was 6 years old, so they were then a short time span, and that definitely didn't do well for how I perceive family members at a young age. Definitely helped me stand back. My father was I'm stuttering like crazy. My father was in prison at that time, so he couldn't really do much, and he didn't even know about that incident until years later, because I didn't really tell anybody. I didn't even tell my mom, really, besides getting hit by a car. So at a very young age, I wasn't really the rah, that's my family child. I was the more standoffish, observe everybody, who are you really like child. And because of that, I was just always see the little things, the like small details that just didn't add up on how different people act. And I was always more perceptive to their energy. Now, my Aunt Jackie, and just for the sake of this, I'm not going to name this woman because I can't stand her. I cannot stand her at all. So I'll just call her a different name. We're going to call her Rachel. My Aunt Jackie has a daughter named Rachel, and Rachel is a bit more bougie. intellectual. I don't really know how to describe this woman, but it's like the person that is intelligent but a little uppity. You know, they give you that vibe, somebody who feels like they're a little better than people. Like, that's how I always felt being around her. She would come around and everybody's having a good old time, and it was just like the little things about her. It's just, I'm like, something about this woman just made me go, I don't really like you and I don't really trust you. Meanwhile, my aunt also had a son. We'll call him, dang, I can't even think of a name right now. We'll call him James. All right, we'll just call him James. There was a lot of processing because every name I thought of was similar to his actual name. She had a son named James. He's still alive. And James is more of the, from what they were always telling me, he was the drug dealer who also did have a job and was more of the cool one. So you'll see him sometimes pull around with a Beamer and stuff, right? But I didn't really know him. My mom and James were close when they were young. Me and James, not so much, because like I said, my mom kind of ended up being the black sheep. She became very standoffish, has a lot of things that was dealing with, you know. Didn't really go over to see them a lot because people wouldn't come over to see her. Just a lot of things that was happening. And then like there's me, the whole black wolf. But I did get to know James somewhat when I was younger. His son and his daughter, we would like play video games when I was over and things. But then like there was just like a big time gap where we didn't really see each other. Like after my great grandfather died, I didn't really see nobody for the most part, besides, you know, in very scarce situations, you know, very brief. Go over to a family event, or have to go over to like to see my Aunt Jackie at her house in Philadelphia. We visit, blah, 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 leave. Basically, that's how that would go. So there wasn't really much interaction from like me being from 7 years old to like 14. Like we just didn't really speak. I mean, we definitely don't speak now, but it was very small. So that divide like kind of grew. And because of that, anytime I would see them, I would just notice little things like, okay, you kind of lie about this, or you think you're cool about that, oh, you're not speaking to me, or not, you think you're better than me, just little things. And my mom was like, oh, why aren't you talking to your cousins? And I'm like, yeah, I don't really fuck with their energy. Like, I can see who this person really is. And this is all very important, as my Aunt Jackie, like, she would go back and forth between the houses, and because of that, she would complain to my mom about the things that her grandchildren, that would be right? Yeah, what her grandchildren were doing, but she would also tell them about what we were doing. And of course, that sometimes created a little bit of animosity, which I don't really blame her so much, as it wasn't really her. Well, it was her fault, but she wasn't intentionally doing it to be like a bad person, even though my mom did have to get on her about that, because she was like, this actually is creating like problems, right? But it also like kept us informed of who we were as people. Now, going to me being the black sheep real quick, or not the black sheep, like the black wolf, and I kind of gained a reputation for being a little crazy, because they will hear about little incidents of me wilding out and doing this and doing that. And even though when we were around each other, I guess because of the energy I gave, like standoffish, I don't talk to y'all don't talk to me. And even when we were around each other, I was just quiet, always quiet. I mean, kind of like that to this day. So fast forwarding to when I was a teenager, situation happened, and some people I used to hang out with, I stopped hanging around with. They used it as an opportunity, because they wanted to be gang, that they used the opportunity to like try to fight me, basically to get the one person that I actually was cool and called a friend. And basically it's like, you know, I saw it as like their major initiation. All right, we're going to get you to jump him to see if you're really down with us, right? And keeping it short, I got jumped one day, and I got jumped the second day, like 2 days in a row. And it wasn't as bad as I'm making it sound, because even though I was more of a nerdy kid and things back then, I mean, I'm still nerdy now, but I'm not as all yoked up. I was always a big kid. I was 180 pounds at 12 years old and was like 5'11 then. I'm 6'3 now. I'm 6'3", 265, 270. So I was always on the bigger side, and I had a lot of latent weight, even though I wasn't cock diesel and whatnot, because of my massive genetic thighs and whatnot. I had weight to myself. So when they jumped me, well, I'm a tank. That's it. There's really no other way to describe it. Like, I remember the first day it happened, Mark, I'm going to name him. Mark was the one who had like punched me because I was looking in the mirror because I had bit my lip in gym class and I bit it bad. So I'm like looking on the inside of it and I see them come through, right? And I'm like, all the energy and things, I'm like, I feel like they're looking for me. And then I got distracted by something with my lip or something. And Mark was also short. So that was also the thing. I just couldn't see him no more. I started looking at this, and next thing I know, I just feel a wham right into my side, and we pretty much get the rumbling fight. And one of the kids was actually way stronger than me because we did like a little arm wrestling thing a few weeks prior, and he ragdolled me, which is funny because when it came to fighting, all that ragdoll strength, he did not know how to convert to actual punches. So by the time we get out the locker room and get into the hallway, I'm hyped up. They're thinking it was going to be an easy fight. No, I was able to stick and move. Also, I got to bring this up. I just have to. I was able to stick and move. And the one kid who was like, it's a little small, narrow hallway getting outside the locker room to the main hallway, right? So it's a locker room, narrow hallway that's like, there's an L, and then which is connecting from the main hallway to the locker room, and then there's the main hallway. So in the little narrow hallway, while I'm sticking and moving, ducking, because I was always taught how to fight, in a basic form of how to move, how to not get, stay in one spot. I'm doing that, and I remember I just turn and I swing hard. And the one kid who was about as tall as me, I connected. And my brain in that little split second just like took a snapshot of his face turning into jello. Until today, I still remember that. And it's the funniest thing in the world because all I see is the skin go blah, blah, blah. We get into the hallway. I'm ready to fight now. I'm like, what's up? Let's go. I was like, y'all thought y'all had me. Let's do this. Now they're like, no, we'll get them later. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought. So y'all some bitches. Second day, they jumped me at the bus stop. Same thing. And mind you, unsettling. I'm not the toughest kid in the world, and it's all as important. I'm not just going on a rant, but I'm not the toughest kid in the world, but I'm a tank. I was taught how to fight a little bit, so I know how to defend myself, right? For, just basic purposes. Not a boxer by any means, but definitely can defend myself and can take some blows. So we get to fighting. I get surrounded. They swing on me like a motherfucker. And to be honest, I didn't feel none of them. They were just meek, 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 and I'm swinging back. Actually, before that incident happened, it's so bad. When situations happen, people will like make things up, to try to justify their actions. And like I said, oh, this is important. And so, one of the kids who was part of the little street gang that jumped me. A few weeks prior, he was bragging about how he boxes and has the golden gloves and what that, right? So, and this always makes me laugh. Two things happened about this second jumping. One, just trying to keep it brief because I don't want to go too far when I connect this to the actual story. One of the kids he took like this long way around. Like I'm on one side of the street, they're on the other, and they're like, there's this park over there, and they take the long way around. And I have my hoodie up. So instead of going up and addressing me up front, he goes all the way around and tries to swing from behind. And it's like I heard the wind of his punch and just ducked, all on instinct. And when I did that, my brain was like, what the fuck? Did I just do that? Right? It was like the craziest things happen when you're in a fight. Like your brain will just have the weirdest thoughts in a split second. That's the funniest thing. Time is going so fast, and yet you're able to have these full fleshed out thoughts in that very, very minute second. It's amazing. But the other thing that happened is the one kid I was talking about with the golden gloves, he goes, yeah, you snitched on us and things. I'm like, what did I snitch about? Hands down, face presented. He just punched me dead in the mouth, just boom. And when he does that, the first thing I think is, I thought he had the golden gloves. And then I was like, why didn't I have my hands up, right? Two different things. So I just had to bring those up because they always make me laugh to this day of just having that thought process. Like, yeah, I mean, he punched me square in the mouth and I did not feel it. Like, it was like this guy was lying the whole time. That was one of the two things that was in my thought process was like, you motherfucking liar. No golden gloves. But anyways, I bring the whole jumping incident up because, my mom got involved. My mom found out because there wasn't going to be a third day. My brain was like, okay, you guys tried to jump me once, it didn't really succeed. Try to jump me twice, we really got the rumbling, didn't really succeed. There's not going to be a third time. I have the mental process of, I don't deal with problems consistently. We're not going to drag this out. It's not going to be a one day, the next day, the next day, and next day throughout the school year. My brain doesn't work like that, and I'm 15-year-old at the time, so I have a lot of internal anger from just life and stuff, toxic family, everything else, and I'm young, so I'm not the most emotionally mature at that time, so that just brings everything over the edge. And my thought process was, all right, here's what's going to happen. I'm gonna kill y'all. That's it. I'm gonna kill y'all. I'm not shooting the school up. No, I'm shooting y'all. I know where y'all at. I know what route y'all take when y'all walk from school. I'm gonna pop y'all. That's it. Problem solved. And my mom kind of felt the energy that I had when she came home that night, and she figured like something was off. Like, I guess I was just, my aura was just murder. And well, what she had said basically was, whatever you're thinking, we're going to do it the legal way. That is verbatim what she said. And even though we don't have the best relationship, her doing that is why I'm here now being able to talk about this. I say all that to say this. It had got back to my cousins through my aunt, because my mom was obviously telling her about the situation after like everything had happened. We had already moved from that time. I was now out of Burlington and in Trenton. Forgot to add that part. But they still kept a close relationship. And my aunt was going through cancer at that time. So we had a family meeting prior to that. If I'm 15, we moved when I was 14, probably about 3 months after my birthday when I was 14 years old. So it's probably a few months prior to me turning 14 that we learned of her cancer. We had a family meeting because we still lived at the Burlington house, which was my great grandparents' house. I forgot that caveat right there. And we had a family meeting where she pretty much told everybody there that she had ovarian cancer. Maybe I was 12, I'm not sure, but somewhere around that time, we just had a meeting, we knew she had cancer. Anyways, going back to that time frame of me being in a fight when I was 15, we had knew that she, my mom and her still kept, contact and everything, because she was like vital to the family and whatnot, right? So eventually one day, there's a family meeting again. I don't remember why at all. I think we meet at her house in Philadelphia, but one of my cousins, she says a thing like, she knows about the situation with school, so she's joking about it, and she was like, man, that was crazy what happened, right? And she's like, but knowing your crazy ass, she's like, you probably would have shot the whole school up and whatnot. I was like, good thing that didn't happen. And she's joking about it. Little does she know, in my head, I'm like, you're actually way closer to the truth than you realize. Never told her that, because even though she was like trying to, joke about it, as I said, at that point I was already more distant to them and things. But that's how I'm kind of seen with the family, which is all this is important, as some things will happen where I kind of showed all that is true. Eventually my aunt dies 2011, and I told my mom exactly this. When she dies, this family's going to break up. Because me being an outsider, and me, just not really being part of the inner circle, not really having a close relationship to anybody, I saw the little cliques, right? Yeah, the one cousin who was like my mom's like friend, she was a younger cousin, so younger cousin to my mom, older cousin to me, but my mom, like, that's our baby cousin right there. And I mean that in a more endearing way. That's my baby cousin. That's like my right hand or something like that. But she always had these little characteristics that was like, eh. And to me, she was kind of like an older sister in a way. Like when I was younger, I'd always want to fight her and stuff, because it was just how I got my anger out. But even then, I started to pull back, because it was just like this little thing, little stuff of like how she would talk and certain things she would do, where it was like, I don't really trust you. And that could have also been like my, PTSD from like those other family situations, right? But that cousin, and we'll just call her Tanya. Tanya and them had like their own little clique. The cousin that made the joke about the whole shooting, she is the daughter of James. And James also has a son. So they are like their own little clique, right? As well as other members on this side who are like, I kind of know of, kind of don't, but they're like here. And then there's me and my mom and my now younger sister who's 7 years apart. And we're like here. Like, it's different, just little groups. And I kind of realized that I'm like, these are cliques. We're all in cliques. And even though, and speaking of my mom, you're, saying, that's your family right there. You can't say these things about them. That's your cousins. Those are also my cousins. It's like, nah, this is not going to last. When my great aunt passed, just like that, everybody went to their immediate cliques. Suddenly, people aren't really picking up phone calls anymore. This is happening, this isn't happening. You just really saw the wedges and walls built up. And I was sitting back like, told you so. Called it. Absolutely called it, right? And with that, a situation happened between my mom and her right-hand cousin. And I kind of spoke of this before, but I'm going to speak of this even more. In fact, I'm going to take a little backseat. So with James and them, we had a situation where it was a Thanksgiving dinner. And this is after my great-grandfather had passed, and my great-aunt is now in hospice because her dementia has gotten really, really bad. And it was supposed to be a Thanksgiving dinner that we were going to have at the house in Burlington because we still lived there. Well, James thought his mom, my great aunt, was going to be at the house. So he comes over, and I think his kids were with him as well, and learns that she's not there, right? And I'm in the den, just playing my video games, watching TV on a computer or something like that. I was doing something, one of those three. And the den is right by the front door. Like, this is a big house, big suburban house, an old school suburban house. So, you got your main upstairs, you have your den area that's like near the front door, and then you have your second floor. And so I could see the door and everything, and we let him in, blah, 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 blah. He talks to my mom and stuff, and once he learns that she wasn't having him there, he just kind of leaves. Just leaves. And that always stuck with me because, like I said, I was very standoffish to begin with, and I always saw little characteristics of. But when that happened, I went back to when I was like 6 years old in my brain, and I was like, yeah, so much for family. You didn't really come to see us. You came to see your mom. Your mom left. Well, your mom wasn't here. You just outright left. You didn't even stay at least for like 20, 30 minutes to have a conversation or anything, and just gone. Okay. Little things like that. I forgot to add that, so I wanted to go back and say that. Now we fast forward back to the present time. At that time, a situation happened between my mom and her right-hand cousin. So I'm now probably in my 20s, and like I said, the families have all split up at that point, but my mom and her right-hand cousin are still tight like this, allegedly. I don't speak to her at all. I don't go over there to hang out with them. I don't go to do anything with them because, well, it's not for me. I think I was 22 at the time. My sister was 16. Well, 23. My sister was 16, and we're 7 years apart. My cousin is supposed to do something for my mom. I think she's supposed to watch my sister, or my sister's supposed to go over there, right? It was something regarding like hair or something. I don't really specifically remember. But essentially what happens is, I think my mom goes over, and the cousin who was supposed to do that just doesn't. Like, she forgot this, that, and the third, blah, 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 blah. And my mom comes back and she's upset about it. And I'm sitting back like, you just don't learn. You don't learn. These aren't your family. These are your relatives. The only family I have at that point is my dad, who's out of prison at that point, my sister, and my mom, even though our relationship is like almost completely fractured, but not completely at that point. And like close friends that I call family. Everybody else that I'm related to by blood, besides my Uncle Milton, who's still alive, either I don't know them, don't speak to them, or don't like them. So it doesn't mean much to me. I'm like, hey, y'all do you. I don't really care. My mom puts a social media status up on Facebook, and it's subliminal, so it's like sending shots, but it is basically her, expressing her feelings about the situation, and it was something like, people need you or say they're going to do something for you and they just don't really come through, something like that. It was like, subliminal, so if the shoe fits, you're going to take it personal, but it didn't really name any people or whatnot, blah, 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 blah. For whatever reason, that cousin takes it upon herself to then make a Facebook status herself and pretty much starts name dropping people. Now, I don't know about this because I don't have her on Facebook at all. She names dropped people. She names dropped my mom, my sister, and somehow includes me, even though I don't mess with them. I don't talk to them. I don't do anything with them at all. I'm trying to live my life, or figure my life out at that point. Y'all don't matter to me. Y'all aren't important. Y'all don't see me at all. So how do I get involved in this? Like, do they talk about me when my mom's over there and stuff? Sure, but they don't see me. So how am I involved? Now, mind you, I still don't know about this, but that is important because my sister, who is, I brought her up right. I may or may not have beat her ass quite a few times. Never at the face, never in the chest, but she also has the genetic thighs like we do. So if I never needed to give her the little wow wow, that's what I would aim for. As well as doing just other older brother things to torture your siblings because that's what you're supposed to do. Only I could do it. If anybody else did it, I'd beat their ass. My sister is a chip off the old block and a little insane. She sees the status and her and my cousin start going at it. I don't know any of this is happening. I think I'm in school that day or something, or at community college, or where I went to work, or actually no, I was sick. I was coming off of being sick and I still had to go out and go do something. But outside of that, I know nothing about any of this. My sister is 7 years younger than me. My cousin is 6 years older than me. So my sister's 16, I should be 23 because my birthday comes first, and that means my cousin should be 28. They're arguing back and forth. I end up finding out about it because my sister's pissed off when she comes in from school. When she comes in from high school. And, she tells me, blah, blah, blah. That cousin whose name I don't remember what I called her, so I'm not going to say it because I'm not going to say her real name. That cousin, does this, said this, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, let me see the messages and stuff. Because what I didn't know is that cousin's threatened to get physical. Super physical. So I see the messages and my sister's like, MF this, that. And then my cousin's like, well, I know how to fight and I got family that can fight too. And I see this and I'm like, hold up. Are you threatening? You threatening to beat up my 7-year young sister? 7 years younger? She's 16. You're 28. Oh, hold the fuck up. And I already don't like you? Hold up. And then I see the Facebook messages where I'm name dropped and everything else. So I'm like, okay, so one, my mom probably shouldn't have did a status or whatever, but you decided to take it personal. And rather than, addressing it within your close circle of things, you bring up all of us, including me, and I did nothing to you. I don't like you at all. Best believe, I don't like you. You have very snake-like snake-like behavior and other things. You try to act super ghetto at times, but you're not really about that. Yeah, you've been in some fights, but it's like you're supposed to be an adult now. It's just, I'm not for the drama, toxicity, and everything else. But you brought me into this for no reason. And my thing is, like I said, I'm standoffish. So you brought me into it, I'm annoyed. Now you're threatening to beat up my little sister. Only I can beat up my little sister. And that's just and regular stuff. But you said it on some real serious shit. Remember what I said about the whole, I don't do all the whole back and forth. We got a problem. That problem's getting handled immediately. So since she decided to name drop people and stuff and then threatened to beat up my sister, I know your address, I could bring family over. I know how to fight. Cool. Here's what I do. I take out my phone, sit on my computer and record a video. And I say exactly like this. if any of you think you're gonna come over on the bridge and do some shit to my younger sister, especially at where I live, I'm going to shoot you. No ifs, no ands, no buts. Just like that. That's all I said. And then I posted it, made it public, tagged them in it. At that point, shit went crazy. Like, it went crazy. They started tagging other people, blah, 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 blah. Like, you know, doing Facebook Live, saying, yo, I know where they live, you know, tagging other, like, associated family, friends, and stuff. But I stood on that. And I still stand on that to this day. Because y'all always like to say this thing that you're family, right? You pretended to be family. You pretended to be super close. Pretended to be all this. But all it took was small little things and a major person that kept everybody together dying. And none of that was true. Y'all didn't really like each other because when she made that live, she says so many things about my mom. And like, I wasn't getting along with my mom, and I don't get along with my mom now. But it was like, I was watching the live. In fact, I'm gonna be real. Me and all my friends were watching the live. She had no idea, like, cause she had it public. We were all watching it because we were going to get busy, 100%. I might be more on the nerdy side and things, but when it comes to family, all that street shit don't mean nothing to me. A bullet has no name on it. A knife has no name on it. Hands, when I hit you, it's going to hurt regardless. The situation got nipped in the bud because somebody in my family got involved, and nobody wanted problems after that. And I'm not saying that to brag or anything, but this is just, you know, relevant to the whole thing. But anyways, going back to it, is like, you talked so much trash, and it's like, this wasn't something that just comes out of spur of the moment. You felt this the entire time, but you pretended. You pretended that, you know, my sister was your, like, close friend, that my mom was your, like, you know, your older favorite cousin, and that I, even though I didn't talk to you no more, that I was your baby cousin at some point. You pretended that, and I saw it. I knew it back then. You're not somebody I can trust. So when all this happened and I watched the live, and, you know, the thing about she had said about my sister previously about jumping, it was all the I knew it moment. Everything just made sense. Everything was, I'm validated on what I've been saying this entire time. Because finally, when things came to the head, you spewed all of it out. All of it. And like I said, that situation got nipped in the bud, right? But when it was like all said and done, I went right up to my mom and I was like, what did I say about them being family, about them being relatives and not family? And she was like, you were right. I just didn't see it because I grew up around them, and, you know, I wanted to believe that, you know, we were all still, like, close and things. I was like, y'all never really were. But it gets worse. It gets really worse. The other family member that I brought up, who I think I call her Rachel. Rachel is the sibling of James. I think she's older. James and Rachel stopped talking to each other after my great aunt died. My mom didn't know why James stopped talking to Rachel, because James and my mom stayed in contact, but then kind of just fell out of contact. Not even for any personal reason, it just happened. And then got into contact again years down the line. Now, I knew they stopped talking as well, but like I said, I never liked Rachel to begin with. In fact, going back, going back to the past a little bit, when I brought up the situation where James had came over for Thanksgiving, there was also a similar situation where Rachel had came over, and like I said, that aura, that energy, I'm probably around 12 or 13, because like I said, we're still living in Burlington, and I'm more of myself now, right? I'm learning more of who I am, and I'm not like a kid anymore. I'm the rebellious preteen. And Rachel came over for whatever reason, and my great aunt is there. And I'm leaving, I'm going down the driveway, and Rachel gets out and says hi to me. And like I said, I don't really like Rachel anyways, but when she got out and said hi to me, right? Or I didn't even really say hi to me, but like looked at me. The energy that I felt was not the same as like a kid. As a kid, it was like, you're kind of cool, but you feel like you're just, you have like this thing of where you seem like you think you're better than people. She got out and I just felt evil. Like I felt pure evil. Like it was just like, it's so hard to describe, but it was like this energy, this brooding energy that was with her. And she did try to say hi, but that energy I felt, and that wasn't from me just like, me being an angry child, that angry preteen, well, still a child, who like, was holding a lot of animosity, because some of it was that, but it was the wave of energy I was hit with. I was like, oh, I'm not talking to you. Absolutely not. So she says hi, and I just look at her, and she's giving me this weird look, and I'm just like, nah, I'm good, bro. And I just keep walking down the driveway, and I'm going to see my friends. And I never forgot that. I didn't know what it was, but it was just like, it gave me just a super bad feeling about her. And I definitely made sure I'm never speaking to this person again. So going back to after my great aunt died, James and Rachel stopped talking to each other. But when my great aunt was passing, I didn't see her. My great aunt was on the thicker side, like just body type wise. I won't really call her fat. She had like a, I want to say like a big mama type build, but it wasn't like obese fat. It was just a thicker body. There you go. And when she was going through chemo, and I had like saw her at her house one day, she didn't have that thicker build anymore. And I mean like thicker in the face, thicker in the arms, thicker in the legs. She was more of just a more round. It's not even round as a word. She just like, some people are thin, some people are like medium. She was more just the thicker side. Like if she had like ever played sports or something in her younger age, she could be a rugby player. She probably would have been able to transition easily into that, if that makes more sense. But when I saw her, she didn't have none of that thickness at all. She was just skinny. Like skinny. You can see a little bit of like the collarbone and things, and I was like trying to joke and be lively with her, but in the back of my head I was like, oh my God, you've never been skinny. It didn't sit well with me. So when she was in hospice, I didn't go see her. I couldn't see her because she, outside of my Uncle Bill, was like the last person that I'm like really related to, that it was like important to me. She thought a lot of times I wasn't listening to her when she would like, get on me about life and stuff, and would tell my mom, that boy's not listening. No, I was listening. Like I would just be very stoic about it, but I paid attention to the little lessons that she was giving. I was paying close attention to them. I guess I just wasn't showing it well back then, especially because you're being young and rebellious. But my mom told me when she went and go saw her that she was super duper delirious. Like she didn't want to die or anything or whatnot. She was like in and out of like being actively conscious. And then the last time my mom saw her, she couldn't even like move. Like she wasn't there at all, barely conscious. No, and the cancer was just ripping through her. Somehow, some way, a will is signed. Now, we're not close to that side of the family at all. But to my mom, who, even though despite our relationship, we don't get along. She's not a dumb person. That's why we don't get along. She does dumb things, but isn't a dumb person. And it just aggravates me. My mom brings up how a will was signed. Like some of the items and possessions of hers that were over in the Burlington house and things are going off to people. But how did that happen? She never signed a will, from what our knowledge was. Could be wrong, but as much as we know, that was never signed. So how are things signed off? Like, there are things that are starting not to add up, but since we're not close to them, me especially, we don't know what, we don't know how, we don't know what the information is. So we fast forward to, I would say, what is it, 2024? Probably 2020, 2021. I think 2021. My mom and James are speaking again. We learn the reason why James and Rachel stopped talking to each other, and at that point in time, they had never spoken again, is because, remember when I said James was like a drug dealer? I almost said addict. He's not an addict, drug dealer, but a baller. as well. You know, he drove around in the Beamer and things, you know, fixed up houses. He's a licensed tradesman. I'm not going to say what because I don't want to put his stuff out there. But he has always been a get money type person. He was a get money person, and he's going to wine and dine the women. That's always been him. And to wine and dine women, what you got to do? You got to get money. So he always had money. He was putting money on his mom's books. He was taking care of he was taking care of her house because there was like 3 houses. That house, the Burlington house, which was my grandparents' house, but then we couldn't afford it anymore, so we moved out, and that house was just still there. So he would go down there and take care of it. And sometimes when I was down in the area, I would go there and like just sleep there because the house is still in our family. We just can't live there because we can't afford everything, right? So he's taking care of multiple houses, you know, taking care of his mom's bills and putting money in the bank. Rachel took all of it. All of it. Rachel took that money because she had power of attorney, so she had access to the bank account, and drained it of thousands, tens of thousands. I don't know the direct number. Could even be hundreds of thousands, but we know that she drained all of it. That was their mom. Their mom that was dying of cancer. She lost her mom, but he lost his mom too. He saw what she was going through, just like how she was. And yet, despite, you know, instead of working through it together and things, she felt entitled to all the money that was in the bank account. She felt entitled to everything. So from my knowledge, if it's correct, you know, signed off on some stuff that in her name, as well as just stole all the money. And it reminded me of the energy I felt that day, where I was like, there's something off about you. That energy in that driveway. Because despite her always, you know, through our lifetime, being one of those people that would talk about family and things and whatnot, that day in that driveway, that energy I felt, like I said, it was more than just somebody who feels a little better than people, more than just uppity, more than a person who lives at her mom's house, because she lived at her mom's house. She just had her own floor to herself. Obviously, she worked and paid bills. She was a, you know, functioning adult, but it was more than all that. It was something that just wasn't right. Not right. And I remember that day, and I was like, I get it. It was your character. Whatever you were going through that day, whatever you were holding from whatever happened that day, it came out through your energy, and I felt that. It was your fucking character that came out. Your true intentions, how you feel about people, how you act. And I just sat back and I was like, what a fucking scumbag. And damn, this is really how low family can get. Family. Obviously to me, the relatives at that point, but this is the depths of it. And the depths are, there are no depths. It could become, there is no bottom. The true nature of people when it comes out is the worst. Can be the worst. And these are people not in the street. These are people that you're related to. Blood that you share genetics with. And between like the things I experienced on my dad's side, like I said, hit by a car and whatnot, and all of that stuff. The word family, after all that, you know, cemented to me that family don't mean shit. Besides what you make it. Of course, there's always a positive at the end of this, right? What I learned from all that is family is what you make it. You define what the word family means. Genetics, relations, and all that doesn't define the word family for you. My family now are the people that are close to me. My best friend, I call him my brother because he basically is. You know, my sister, I still talk to her here and there. You know, I'm standoffish from my mom, but I still speak to my sister, you know, help her with little things, guide her with little stuff, you know, just speak about life here and there. And then other people that come to my life that are, or have been in my life, like family friends. I can name her Miss Anna, who was a family friend of my great-grandfather who lived around the corner, like, and helped raise me, because it takes a village to raise somebody. So she saw my trials and tribulations, and I was a handful at times. You know, she was important in my life, is important, she's still around, so I see her as family. You know, I learned family's what you make it. And as I sit back, right, a lot of people that I know, they still go through a lot of the same stuff, as in they didn't ever really get to break out of the conditioning, I guess we could call it, of, this is family. Family's important. You don't turn your back on your family. And me having been able to do that, I always tell people, like, bro, family's what you really make this, because taking advantage of each other and all that stuff, that's not what a family does. They could say all that because you're related to each other, but if you truly care about this person, you don't take advantage of them. You try to work as a team and all that other stuff. And unfortunately, that's not really what happens. I'm not really going to make this any longer because it's getting long enough, but all those like negative things, kind of like how generational curses happen, which is why a lot of people can't break out of them, because it's passed down behavior, passed down negative behavior from family members, right? I know somebody who lives with somebody else. He's not related to them, but they're in like, that's their SO, even though they're not going to last much longer because he's planning on getting out. And the matriarch of that family is loud, yells, miserable. So one of her daughters is loud, yells, miserable. The person that he's dating. Sometimes she's loud, but very depressed, miserable. And it translates to the kids, and so on and so on and so on. And I'm not saying this to single that person out, because a lot of people I went to school with, had a lot of similar things. Hell, I was as well. But Miss Anna, that family friend I brought up, she told me one thing when I was like 13, 14. She said, the way you and your mom interact with each other is, it's a cycle. It's how y'all are used to communicating. One of you has to break that. And while things hadn't been perfect, and sometimes I would fall into bad behavior, I always kept it in the back of my mind and tried to, do things differently, which is crazy when you think about it, because I'm like 14, 15. Why am I trying to be the mature one over a parent? But that's neither here nor there. I see a lot of people who, just dealing with that stuff of just how toxic family can be. Hence, this whole title. Family can be the worst. I know this from personal experience. It's crazy when you think about it, when you talk about that you really had to threaten to shoot your own family members, and it almost got into a situation where people would have allegedly came across a bridge, and me and my friends were like, hey, guess what? If it gets popping, we gets popping. All because somebody that's 28 is trying to fight a 16-year-old over a situation that started between her best cousin. It's wild. But that's life. Life is what you make it. Family is what you make it. And I've learned to get away from that. And with this whole long story, talking about my life, telling my story, if anybody gets to this point, what I want people to get out of this is, hey, it's what you make of it. You live one life, even if reincarnation and all that stuff is real. As you currently are, the way you're currently perceiving this world, this planet, this universe, you only get that once, most likely. So make that what you will, and just take those little toxic elements and cut them out, because family ain't shit, but family's also what you make it. And if it ain't shit, take out the parts that ain't shit and build it up to be something that is something. And that's it. That's the video. We'll see how this is, because like I said, I had the car idling the whole time, so I'm helping poison the planet, but my phone was dying, and well, I wanted to get this out, so there we go. That's that. And as always, I will see y'all in the next video. I'm out of here. Deuces.